Welcome back, Bears fans, to the CHGO Bears Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. And what is going on, everybody? It is Friday, CHGO Audible Day. We are back again. It's been quite a while, but I'm excited to be back behind the mic. Family vacation's over with. Bears minicamp, that's over with. We have a lot here to talk about, but this is Will DeWitt. Join with me is Nicholas Moreano. Nick, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, Will. Like you said, it's been a while, and it's good to be back as we can kind of tell everybody, recap minicamp, and get on. Training camp schedule was just announced earlier too, Will. So we're already done with one camp, going on to the next one.
Training camp. I can't wait. I was taking my walk here this morning and it was like a brisk kind of like breeze. And I don't know why it reminded me of like training camp a bit, because training camp's usually like ungodly hot, but it reminded me of football, which we all know the next thing's training camp. And that's like my favorite time of the year. I'm excited that schedule's out and I look forward to talking really, a bunch of Chicago Bears football with you. Is that a new camera or a new light setup? Because you're definitely looking a little different.
It's a new light setup, and I have a remote some. I don't quite know how to operate, and I mean it looks good, but I think it's on a little too bright. But it is new. I got rid of. I don't know if you remember, Will. I had the giant light, fixtures here, and now we got rid of that. It's one simplified light that I still am trying to figure out here.
You got this. Yeah. See, I'm fancy. I use my phone as my controller for my lights, and I can't go too bright because if I turn my head, you can see over here nice sunglasses tan line that I've been trying to hide because it's gnarly. It goes into the fade, which is awesome. But yeah, that's what happens when you wear sunglasses for an entire week and a half outside. But all right, I want to do a rundown that way people know what to expect, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty here because there's a lot to talk about. I know you guys been doing a great job all week talking about minicamp as it's gone along. I loved all of that coverage, but now it's time to put it all into perspective and kind of share those top takeaways for those that maybe missed it throughout the week, and just making sure we double down on those top takeaways. So that's pretty much the big thing here today. Nick was there. Obviously I wasn't. So I'm going to be picking his brain a little bit, what stood out to me, and he can share a little bit more insight on that. And then there is some demolition underway at the Arlington Park racetrack. Mark Carman is there, so he may be popping on this show to give us a firsthand account. It's kind of like on the fly, so who knows? Maybe Mark will be popping on here, and if not, you'll definitely be on our socials with all of that here throughout the afternoon. Did I miss anything, Nick?
No, that's a pretty good rundown, and I guess we can get right into it.
Awesome. So we're going to do this really old school Bears Bros Chicago Audible. We're going to break this up offense, defense, and then we'll have a bigger discussion here at the end. So for our first segment today, let's look at that Chicago Bears offense. And the one thing I just felt like I was hearing from you guys and seeing was just consistent improvement from Justin Fields from day one to day three. I know the defense stole the show on day one. Then it was a mixed bag for the offense on day two. But on that final day, day three, when they went into the red zone and exclusively worked in that area of the field, it looked like Justin Fields really lit it up. So can you kind of share your takeaways on just the improvement that you saw from QB1 throughout the entirety of minicamp?
Yeah, and starting off, the Bears started minicamp inside the Walter Payton Center due to some weather, and you saw the defense make a lot of plays in that practice. So for me, it didn't even seem like Justin Fields was, I guess, quote unquote, like the issue, but the defense just made a lot of plays. So credit to them. But as the days kind of went on, you saw Fields connecting, with more of his receivers. And, day two for me was just a mixed bag of where you saw Justin Fields make some incredible throws downfield, but also there were plays where, hey, he got intercepted by a Jaquan Brisker when trying to force a throw to DJ Moore. And a lot of those passes on day two were checkdowns. And whether or not the reason for the checkdowns was because the defense dictated the throw, Fields maybe missed somebody downfield. I can just tell you from my vantage point, there were a couple times where a Cole Kmet was streaking down the middle of the field, or a Nasimba Webster, who got some reps with the first team at times, was streaking down the middle of the field. But again, we don't know what the play call, the progressions that Fields is supposed to look at. I can just tell you what I saw, but a majority of the plays that were completed were checkdowns in that day 2 practice. And then you have day 3, where it is a condensed practice. It's probably about an hour or so, but a lot of it was in the red zone, and Justin Fields was cooking. It was his first incompleted pass came off a drop from Tyler Scott. And, Jaquan Brisker is jawing at him a little bit, saying, hey, you're too big for the moment, Rook, or something along those lines. But he was looking decisive and hitting everybody not named DJ Moore, because he really wasn't even in those plays. So you saw Robert Tonyan, you saw Cole Kmet, Dante Pettis, Equanimeous St. Brown. And that's good to see, especially because it's DJ Moore is obviously going to be a huge component of the Bears offense from week 1 to week 18. But it's going to take some other guys as well to really make this offense as explosive and dynamic as it can be. So, yeah, I agree. Like, Justin Fields each day showed some improvement. I think learned from some of those growing decisions that he made that, ended up in interceptions. But you saw a really good product on the football field on day 3, which was Thursday's practice.
And for him to end minicamp like on such a strong, positive note, I think it's going to be good for him, his confidence as he's growing within his offense, getting used to some of these new players. And with the other injuries at wide receiver right now, still Darnell Mooney's not out there. Chase Claypool hasn't been out there right now. So it's been probably a little bit more challenging, but also there could be a bright side here of getting some of this work with some of the other guys here on this roster. So for him to end it the way he did, I mean, it feels so like Justin Fields, right? Like, takes a bit here, but once he got cooking, like, he was really dishing it out. So that to me was a huge positive. One thing that I just wanted your perspective on, because you're watching these plays, you're at the practice, and you can compare like what it looked like from last year. And I know we're going to talk about the defense in a little bit, but I'm just curious your thoughts about Fields in this offense going up against better cover backers like Edmonds and Edwards, and maybe helping this offense, helping Justin Fields, guys like Cole Kmet who operate in the middle of the field, get higher quality reps now to earn those looks to help them out come Sundays in September.
Well, I think it's so vital, so beneficial that TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds are here, because now Justin Fields, with a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, he's standing eye to eye with a guy like Cole Kmet. And Cole Kmet, came on the CHGO Bears podcast on Monday or Tuesday and said, like, not a lot of guys do that in terms of the linebackers looking at him. So you have to change up your arm angles. There was a throw in the first practice that was indoors where Tremaine Edmonds is trailing Cole Kmet, and Fields has to loft it over. You have to loft it over the 6'5" linebacker that can jump and is an athletic freak. So he's able to make that catch. There was a throw to Robert Tonyan in yesterday's practice, day 3, where you saw TJ Edwards. He got up there with that right hand, but the ball was thrown as an absolute rocket over that outstretched hand and into Robert Tonyan's one-handed catch. So these linebackers are not making it easy to make these completions, but that makes Justin Fields a better thrower. It makes Cole Kmet, Robert Tonyan better route runners, because you can't go in there lackadaisical thinking, oh, yeah, I can just get open on one of these linebackers. No, they're one of the better duo in the NFL in terms of coverage. So I think it's so beneficial that they got these reps. It was competitive in these 3 days, but you saw some wins for the linebackers. You saw some wins for the tight ends. But that's, I think, come the season, like, honestly, where are you going to find a better duo in terms of coverage linebackers, where now Fields knows how to make that throw. Cole Kmet knows how to get up. Really beneficial all in all to have those reps in this mini camp.
So last year, training camp, something that we saw a lot of was Justin Fields still holding on to the ball a lot. That was a big gripe his rookie season. Then last year, I think we still saw that in the regular season a bit. Have you seen more conviction out of him at these minicamp practices so far, letting that ball out a little quicker? You talked about some of these, ball placements. And to me, again, I don't have eyes on it. Those are your eyes on it. But they do feel like throws that he wasn't really making consistently last year, that he's starting to really trust and have that arm talent to kind of put it in that spot. And I know that takes a lot of repetition, that takes practice, but are you feeling that in the practice?
I think there are certain plays, certain throws where you definitely feel that. And a lot of them have gone to DJ Moore. And that's not a bad thing. He knows exactly where to go, who to target. And look, there were a couple plays, even in the past couple of practices, where when Elijah Hicks gets out there, hey, the ball is going in that direction. Look, the NFL is all about matchups. So there have been times where you do see the conviction. And then there are times where, again, I'm going to tell you straight up, like, I don't know what the progressions are for Fields, but he's looking, then check down. And we do need to see Justin Fields hit those check downs, but there are times where it feels like he wants to pull the trigger, but something is preventing him from doing that. Again, don't know what's dictating that, but you see a bit of a mixed bag, and it doesn't help. And you mentioned at the top, and this is really important, you don't have Darnell Mooney. You don't have Chase Claypool. So you're number 2, number 3 wide receiver right now in an offense that's supposed to go along with DJ Moore. But I think overall, you do see a Justin Fields that's more comfortable, more in command of this offense. There are a couple times within practice where, the Justin Fields will complete a pass, and then you kind of slowly go into the next play. Eberflus, like, he calls out something, and everybody's rushing to get to the line of scrimmage, and Justin's at the line looking, and then has to call the play, and they get the play off in time, or able to maybe just hand the ball off. Maybe that's all it was, but there wasn't this crazy dysfunction that maybe we saw earlier, because it was the first year in Luke Getsy's offense. So I think as a whole, you're seeing a more comfortable Fields who has more conviction, especially when he's throwing to number 2. I'm telling you, it makes it easy when you have a guy like that, because the route running, the ability to go up and make catches, it's once you see it in person, Will, it's gonna stick out once you see it.
I'm excited about that. I really am. I don't think I've seen a QB wide receiver combination like that in Chicago since Cutler and Marshall. And that was a lot of fun to watch in person, a lot of fun to watch on my television. Who says television nowadays? Anyway, but yeah, like that was the last time. And I'm excited to see this one here in person, and you kind of gushing about it is great, because this is what the Bears need. That's why they made the move they did. That's why they made this trade. It needed to be exactly what I think is developing right now between these two guys in order for this offense to take the next step, and really order for them to even succeed in today's NFL. You need to have a legit quarterback wide receiver connection, a 1-2 punch. All right, going over to the rest of the wide receivers. As we know, there's guys having to step up right now. And Nick, I'd be remiss if I didn't begin with a name that kept popping up that put a smile on my face. Dante Pettis. He is not going down without a fight, huh?
No, he is not, Will. And it was really good to see the practice yesterday, but he made some plays really all 3 days of minicamp. One of the better throw and catches of the entire minicamp came in the first day of practice down the right sideline. Jalen Johnson's in cover. Jalen Johnson's running stride for stride with Dante Pettis. But the ball placement and the ability for Dante Pettis to track the ball in the air made an incredible throw and catch. But in yesterday's practice, it was arguably my favorite play of this entire offseason program was when Fields is rolling out right and Dante Pettis is covered up by Kyler Gordon. He's got him on clamps. But then once Dante Pettis sees his quarterback is trying to extend the play, he adjusts his route and goes away from where his initial route is taking him and breaks to the right kind of pylon. And that creates a separation, allows Fields to make the completed pass, which is a high ball. So he goes up the ladder, brings down the ball, and gets his 2 feet in bounds. Like, that shows a receiver that has been here with Fields last year to make the adjustment, to make the play. And we're going to see that in the regular season, you guys, where Fields is extending plays, and it's going to be up to his wide receivers, his tight ends, his running backs to adjust with him. So that was a really good play by Dante Pettis. And look, he's fighting for a job, Will. There's a lot of wide receivers in this room, and whichever guy can be the most consistent in practice, show that special teams value, will end up staying on this team. But it was nice to see when you don't have a Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, that Dante Pettis is showing out and making some plays for the offense.
Bears wide receiver room has depth, is what I'm hearing right now. This is just one guy. And I think Dante Pettis did that a little bit last year for Justin Fields in terms of helping on some of those broken plays, extend them in. I think he had a couple of like explosive, like 40-yard plus catches due to this. So it is a knack of his being able to kind of feel that. And it's something that other receivers on this team, I think, need to continue to develop. Obviously, DJ Moore has that too. But there are just times last year where I was hoping more guys would help out QB1 like that. I'm glad to hear Pettis is doing so. I'm curious, sticking with wideouts, what's just your early impressions of Tyler Scott so far? I know the Bears were raving about him after being drafted, about his speed, his hands. What are your early impressions? I know it's still, really early into his young NFL career, but if he can blossom to be a playmaker for the Bears right out of the gate, that's really going to help this team even further.
No, it definitely is. Well, just kind of trying to go back from day 3 and then go back. But, he had a drop, and that was, is something that is obviously going to happen. You're going to drop the ball. But I think for me, like, he looks like it's not too big for him because they're having him go out there, punt returner, something that he didn't do all too much at Cincinnati, but he was still familiar with it because they had him do it in practice. We just never got a chance to see it in games. So he's doing that. He's getting mixed in with sometimes the backup offense, and at times he'll go with the starting unit. So he's kind of getting a little mix of PJ Walker at times, Justin Fields, and even, Nathan Peterman when he's not with the initial starting unit. So he's getting a little mix of different quarterbacks there, but he hasn't made, I would say, too many plays in the minicamp portion of practice, but that's not too concerning for me. As of right now, I think for him, it's like making sure, hey, understand your playbook and understand where you need to be in terms of your landmarks. Another play that stands out, it's a play that maybe Fields should have gone to a different receiver, but Tyler Scott runs probably a 5-6 yard hitch, and Jalen Johnson's all over him and breaks up the pass, and the ball ends up on the ground. But I think for me, hopefully we see more the explosive type of plays because those are the ones that we're kind of expecting from a Tyler Scott, but he seems engaged anytime Tyke Tolbert, the wide receiver coach, is on him. He's always trying to punch the football. It feels like it's a little extra with a Tyler Scott. They have like a punching glove, and it feels like there's more effort there, but I think he's really open to all the coaching. He's obviously doing what he needs to do in these practices, but hopefully training camp, we see more of those deep shots because that's where I think Tyler Scott's going to make an impact for this Bears offense.
I can just see Tyke now. It's like, all right. That here comes a rookie. Yeah, all right, here we go.
Exactly.
You really see if you have that ball security. So I appreciate it. There was one question from Bro Delicious here about not hearing a lot about EQ so far during OTAs and minicamp. Has he been a little too quiet for your liking and based off what you've seen, or is it just because he's not making the big plays and that's why we haven't heard a lot?
Yeah, I'm trying to look over to see. I know he scored a touchdown yesterday, so that was good to see. Jalen Johnson, Eddie Jackson broke up a pass that was intended for Equanimous St. Brown in the middle of the field. The ball was slightly behind EQ, and Eddie Jackson got pissed that he didn't intercept the ball and started doing push-ups in his first practice back. So that was nice to see the old Eddie Jackson there. But yeah, it's been I guess it's been an okay mini camp. And again, I would have to go back and see every single note, but I know yesterday was a good showing for him, and he was wide open in the middle of the end zone. Jaquan Brisker was like, what the, right afterwards, kind of looking over, like, why is he that wide open? I'll tell you this, Jaquan Brisker is a vocal dude, and he's
Is he more vocal than he was last year, you feel?
I feel like he is on the field. On the field, he just seems like a guy where he's not afraid to talk smack to you, and he'll let it be known how he feels. And just that last practice, like, he was kind of talking a little bit more, and just kind of looking at him because we had Coach Overstreet, the safeties coach, in front of us, and every single safety would come up, and you just see each safety and how big they are. Jaquan Brisker is different, man. He is just different in terms of size and, just his build. But yeah, he was pretty mad when EQ got wide open in the middle of the end zone and caught an easy touchdown.
See, I love all of that. And we'll talk about the defense here in a little bit after our first break. But the fact that Brisker is talking more on the field and you're able to pick up on that is a great sign for someone in year two, taking more ownership and feeling more comfortable. Like he can take more of a leadership role instead of being the new guy in the team, the rookie. I think that's great. And the fact that he's so upset and takes it personally and doesn't want it to happen is, I think, just another good development for him and his trajectory on that Bears defense. We'll talk more about Brisky in just a little bit, but real quickly, how are you feeling about the tight end situation? I know Tanyan had that good play yesterday. I feel like in the red zone, 2 tight ends could be a thing.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it definitely can be a thing. Robert Tanyan, one, I think it's the jersey number, wearing number 18, and just his build. He's almost looks like a big wide receiver. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he an undrafted wide receiver coming into the NFL? Maybe I'm thinking about someone completely different, but he does have that ability to move like that. And Cole Kmet's been making plays throughout the mini camp, and when Justin Fields needs a big play that's not named DJ Moore, like most likely that ball's going to Cole Kmet. And he's been making the catches. Fields this was the second practice. It was a 2-minute drill. He hit a big completion to Cole Kmet, tried to go to him again, but it was a bit of an overthrow. But you see that Fields wants to go to this guy. And obviously he had a good year in terms of touchdown makes that he had last season, but I think he's capable of giving you more yards, more catches, and also keeping up the touchdowns. So I think that tight end room, it's going to be a thing because I was talking to, Robert Tanyan said in his introductory press conference, like, this offense will run through the tight end. And I asked Coach Dre, the tight ends coach, why is that? Well, it's like the tight end does a lot of different things for this offense, and how much the Bears are still going to run the ball, they're going to be a huge part of that too. So yeah, the tight ends, 2 tight end sets, definitely expect that a lot this season from the Bears, because I think that's honestly a good personnel grouping to be in for the Bears offense.
Especially in the red zone when you have a Roshan Johnson, you have a Khalil Herbert, you have Foreman. So like you can power your way down there, but then also play action. You have some passing. You have the tall targets, the big guys, and get Tanyan. I think it was 2019 or 2020. I don't have it in front of me, but he was like a top 3 tight end in the red zone, 7 touchdowns down there with Aaron Rodgers. Like he can produce down there. And so that was the hope when we signed him, because last year the Bears really only had 1 tight end you can rely on. They tried Ryan Griffin, James O'Shaughnessy, didn't really work. But the fact that they brought in someone and he's starting to already kind of carve his own role in this offense is another really good development here at Minicamp. Thanks, Nick, for the insight there. Anything on the offensive line? It's no pads. I hate to put so much stock into it, but this is a recap show. Is there anything throughout this week that people should know about the offensive line?
Really, I think you have consistency on the offensive line. I think that's a lot different than what was happening last season for the Bears, where they're trying to fit different people in different spots. But the only, I guess, fluctuation that we have seen is at the center position, really. But there is no center battle. It's Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair, but Cody Whitehair is a starter. But you'll see at times Lucas go in there with the ones, but he's also, playing at guard at times. But I think the big takeaway from the offensive line for this mini camp, again, like you highlighted, Will, can't see too much of it, is that there's consistency. It's Darnell Wright at your right tackle position. Once Nate Davis got here after OTAs, he's been there. You have Cody Whitehair, Tevin Jenkins, and then Braxton Jones as your starting 5, which is nice to see. Day one of minicamp, it was Darnell Wright giving up some pressure to, what was it, Terrell Lewis? Yeah, defensive lineman. And yeah, I think that's the one time it actually stood out where the Bears could not get a playoff. And Javon Dexter was also in the backfield. So it's like, number 1s were done against the number 2s. Wasn't happening. But other than that, nothing has really stood out glaringly about the offensive line, and we couldn't really see much of the rushing attack yet. But come training camp, we'll get definitely a better look at it.
All right, so a few things I'm going to unpack there, and then we can move on. So the fact that you think the starting 5's out there and working together now already, tremendous. I mean, last year we're going through training camp, like, do we even have the starting 5 on this team? Like, that's where we are at. Like, is there someone else? So the fact that we don't even have to even worry about that's great. Quick question: when you saw Lucas Patrick at guard, left or right, or both?
Ooh, let's see. Visualize. So it's on
You
the.
got this.
We have Jatari Carter was playing right guard, so Lucas Patrick would have been left. Yes.
Okay, because that's where Tevin Jenkins is at. I'm trying to figure out who could be pushing him for that spot, and we know Lucas Patrick with his starting experience in his league would make sense in the fact that they kind of alternated last year to start off the season at right guard, just due to Patrick's hand. Again, I'm just trying to make sure once I get to camp what I'm looking for here. And then you talked about Lewis. Like I saw those reports coming out. People were freaking out like, oh no, what's going on with our top pick here? Calm down. There's no pads, hard to judge, but Lewis was a third rounder in 2020. He had some injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the reserve list a couple times. He sacked Russell Wilson twice in one game over there too. So like he's had like production. Just the Rams had a loaded team, not a lot of money. And I think for the Bears, like, you know, he got dropped. They picked him up. Who knows? If you find someone who can be a producer on this defense on a low end contract off of waivers or, you know, signed immediately after being cut, it could be a good thing. So don't get so soured out on our guy just yet. All right. One final question for the offense. We'll take our break. If there's one player right now that you don't think anyone's talking about, or maybe they're new, I'm just curious, who will you have your eyes on at camp right now that maybe we haven't talked about yet that people should be thinking about throughout the summer?
All the running backs. Like, I'm not even going to give you one. All the running backs, because they're there. They're a part of, obviously, the 7-on-7s at times, but they really haven't been able to show what they can actually do. Like, Roschon Johnson has been with the backups. There's times where he was kind of mixing in with the ones, but it was really quickly. So we haven't seen what the running backs, Deontay Foreman, Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson, are actually capable of. And once training camp starts, the pads are on. The biggest thing to be watching for this, I don't even want to call it running back battle. I think Khalil Herbert will be the starter, but like who can hold up in pass protection the most consistently and just overall the best job there? Because you talk to David Walker, the running backs coach, like that's a premium. You better be able to block for Justin Fields. If not, that's going to be, you know, however they track their information, that's going to be a blemish on your resume if you cannot do that. So whoever can block the best may end up getting more of the reps early on, because the Bears are going to throw it more, but they're still going to be very reliant on this rushing attack. But I just think all three of those guys are capable of running this wide zone scheme, can find the hole, cut back, but who can block the best? That's going to be, I think, the big separator here.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Herbert, a lot of people dissed on it last year for him, honestly, since he's been a pro, but I thought he did show improvement. I saw a good comment here from Evan saying, you know, Rojo can block, and that's true. Like you saw that in Texas. And Foreman, he's been around the league for a while. He's a starting caliber back here too. So he is someone that, you know, I think all three can do it and probably do it well, which is going to make their job difficult, but also easy, which is going to be really exciting here for this entire unit. And I think we both had them ranked very high when we did our positional groupings, like, what, a month and a half ago. Yeah. So that's a reason why, you know, it's a really exciting group that we can't talk about minicamp because there's not a lot there, but I'm excited for camp, like you said, for those pads to come on.
Well, I actually asked David Walker, the running backs coach, like, does it make it difficult when you have three guys? And he looked at me like, no way. I mean, when you have the guys, it makes it a lot easier. He's like, there have been times, and I'm paraphrasing here, where I didn't have, you know, one guy. So that makes it difficult. But he's like, when you have three talented backs, like that makes his job a lot easier. But I just, again, like you, like, how are you going to, you know, differentiate who gets the reps? Dave Walker's not concerned about how that's going to happen. He's just happy that he has the guys in place in the running back room in the first place.
They're on the sidelines. The offense is about to go in the field. So he calls all three over and like touches everyone's like hands, like, hey, how you doing? Oh, you're the hot hand. Get out there. And then that'll be it. Like, just ride the hot hand and go from there. Keep everyone fresh too. It's a long season. So absolutely. I think it's really going to help this team out. All right. There was a super chat about the offense. Let's get to that and we'll get our break. Sorry, Steven. But this one came from Cornelius. Bears aren't keeping more than 6 wide receivers. Who are the 6, Nick? We have DJ Moore,
Yep.
You have Dante Pettis. No, I'm kidding.
Uh-huh.
Well, maybe, but he ain't number 2. And then you have Darnell Mooney. Those are the 2. I think Bayless still is here because he was a 3rd-round pick last year, so he's there. So that's 3.
Chase Claypool.
Chase, even though he's not there now, hopefully healthy, hopefully makes it. So that's 4. And then Tyler Scott, you can't hide Scott. I don't think you're gonna be able to stash him on your practice squad.
No, I don't think you can. So he's gonna be. I think it's EQ and Tyler Scott. Does that give us the 5 or 6? And then I think it's Dante Pettis. That's the odd man.
He's the bubble. He's the bubble guy.
Yeah. And the thing is, they're making Velus Jones Jr. also kind of get some reps back at punt returner. So if he could show that he could do that, does it make a guy like Dante Pettis more expendable? Could you stash a guy like Dante Pettis on your practice squad? And
I don't. Does he have eligibility anymore? I don't know how.
I don't even know, honestly.
They change those rules every offseason, so it's really hard to keep up.
And that's the thing. You know what? I'm glad the Bears are in this situation. Like
Same.
you know, like there's guys that are already going to be in the room, but now you have to cut out a guy that, you know, has done something for the Bears. And that's usually not a situation the Bears are usually in.
It's a luxury spot. And really there's times where, like, if we're doing, say, like our 53-man projection show right now, I mean, usually it's this like clear hard line, or like, you're like, I don't even know if we can find 5 guys or 6 guys in this room. And now it's trying to find a way to, you know, keep all of them, or the best ones, here on the team. So it's a great spot to be in. All right, let's take our first time out, Nick. Catch our breath figuratively, because we have some ad reads to do here too. And you're up first.
Yeah, I have to tell everybody about Lewis University. At Lewis University, many of their students are adults just like you. Many have full-time jobs and or families, and all of them chose Lewis's supportive educational community to help make their transition back to school as easy as possible to earn a respected degree. It's 35 miles southwest of Chicago in Romeoville, ranked as one of U.S. News and World Report's top-tier colleges. And Lewis partners with numerous employers for tuition discounts and offers evening, online, and blended formats to help you balance your work, family, and education. Faculty bring real-world experience and instruction to the classroom, which is immediately relevant to your career. I can't tell you how beneficial that was when I was at DePaul, having faculty that had that real-world experience. So Lewis University obviously has that too, and they offer career support and academic resource for adult students. And whether you're looking to complete your bachelor's or master's degree or enroll in a professional certificate program, Lewis has the right program for you. And Lewis, of course, offers several career-focused programs that will set you up for success. We're just going to highlight one here, which is the Criminal Justice Public Safety grad program. First responders receive 20% off tuition discount, and tuition is deferred for 6 weeks after the end of each class. And that's, you know, huge, just having that little deferment period to kind of get your financials in place. But you could do that too while pursuing that specific degree. And of course, here's the most important part. You want to hear more about Lewis University. Discover how a degree from Lewis can help you build a better world. Learn more at lewisu.edu/you-can-do-this. Again, that's lewisu.edu/you-can-do-this. And Will, we're going to make this subtle, quick transition here from Lewis University to the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. We're having that high energy, and the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future.
Absolutely. ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities like HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
Well, there's a lot going on there. How exactly does that all work?
Those are some big words, aren't they? So an authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually, and they last about 2 hours. Then after that, you have 3 or 4 weeks. Customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. So if you own a business, don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz.
Will, did you say comed.com/poweringbiz?
Absolutely. So go there and schedule that today. All right. Well, you know the CHGO Bears offseason coverage is brought to you by the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. Learn more at comed.com/poweringbiz. Will DeWitt, Nicholas Moreano here. We are excited to continue our minicamp recap show. And now it's time to switch our attention over to that Chicago Bears defense. And Nick, there is a name that you mentioned a couple times when we're talking about the Bears offense that puts a huge, and I can't underestimate and undersell how big of a smile on my face that Eddie Jackson is already back out there in practice after having what looked, a very severe injury towards the end of last season. This dude worked hard to get back out there with his teammates. He is a captain. He is a leader of this team. And I'm so excited to say Bojack is back. How big has that impact been to you at minicamp, and just your thoughts on Eddie Jackson? Is, I would say early return, but a great one at that.
Yeah, I just can't believe that Eddie Jackson, this will be his 7th season in the NFL, Will, where, 2017 doesn't seem that long ago when the Bears drafted him in the 4th round, but it's great to see Eddie Jackson back on the football field and, getting upset that he's not making interceptions already, coming back from injury because he knows he's capable of that. But you see the presence he has with a guy like Elijah Hicks. He's been getting a lot of reps too with some of the first team when they're taking out like an Eddie Jackson or Jaquan Brisker. Elijah Hicks is there, but Eddie Jackson is just the veteran in the group. I think keeps everything, I would say, maybe sound in what everyone's responsibilities are. And it was funny, the touchdown to Cole Kmet and Thursday's practice, it was Tyreek Stevenson, Eddie Jackson. They had the coverage on that side. After Fields throws a rope of a throw to Kmet, Eddie Jackson looked at Stevenson and said, "Hey, I thought you'd be there, Rook." Just kind of having these expectations for these guys. And that's just who Eddie Jackson is. And it's good to see that he's back on the football field. No doubt this Bears defense is a lot better when he is there. We saw all the plays that he made last season, and he was kind of going back to that Eddie Jackson that was an all-pro, one of the better turnover-creating machines in the league. So I'm glad to see that he's back. His leadership is definitely felt, and he can feel the new energy. I forgot exactly what day we spoke to him, but he feels the new energy from these new Bears that are in the room, rookies included, that this is not just like the Bears of last season that won 3 games. This is a new foundation, a new energy, a new spark to really get this Bears team going.
Well, just imagine his perspective after the last few seasons, honestly, since 2018, when we watched this team like slowly decay, slowly get irrelevant, and now we're building back better. But just imagine like now he's out there on the field, and when he looks up right in front of him, he sees Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. I'd feel pretty good about that. Looks to his left, you see some Tyreek Stevenson. You're like, all right, I know he's a rookie, but he's very talented. You look to your right, you see Jalen Johnson. Somewhere in the slots, Kyler Gordon. I'm feeling pretty good if I'm Eddie Jackson. Of course, you have Britsky next to you too. And, they're buddy after a year. His best counterpart in duo since Adrian Amos. If I'm Eddie Jackson, like, this is probably the best position that I've been in a long time in this defense. And last year, like you said, he was able to kind of turn and change that narrative for the better, which was something in training camp I thought I saw. I wrote about it. It happened. Excited it did. So, yeah, I'm excited for Eddie Jackson this season in this defense. Comfortable, confident, healthy. I think driven and motivated too, which is something we didn't see a few years ago, but that's back. And that's huge.
It definitely is. And I think just the scheme that he's playing in allows him to be the best version of himself. And just having all those playmakers that you just mentioned, that's just, I think it's re-energizing. Again, going back to that energy, because that was a big, like, hot topic word, energy, and the energy being in a positive way for this whole entire Bears team. So good to see Bojack back out there and ready to go.
Bojack is back. All right. So sticking with the secondary, what about Tyreek Stevenson? Obviously, I think his development and his ability to step in right away and earn, and not be a starter, earn a starting job is going to help this defense play at a higher level in 2023. Just like with obviously Scott on offense. So many TSs so far in this team, by the way, that they drafted. So it's keeping me on my toes. What are your thoughts about the rookie corner and just where he's at right now? Obviously, we have a whole training camp before the regular season gets here, but what are your thoughts on Stevenson, how he's faring out there with the rest of the unit?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's been nice to see his. I don't even know if it's slow progression, but just progression in general to work up exclusively with the first team. And he's out there, and I think OTAs that wasn't the case. He was kind of with the second team unit. Vildor was still out there, but something obviously changed in the coach's eyes, where we just need to get this guy more reps with the starters. And there have been times where, hey, Justin Fields has gone after Stevenson because he knows DJ Moore is across from him. And as good as Stevenson is as a rookie, that's a hell of a wide receiver you got to cover. So he was able to, exploit him a couple of times with DJ Moore as the person that he's trying to cover. I mentioned the play with Cole Kmet at the touchdown there. So I think, he's a guy that's obviously learning. And there was a drill yesterday where they're just kind of doing the back pedal. And they have to, whatever direction the coaches are telling them, they have to just weave, and then turn to go look and catch the football. Just so fluid. He's a very fluid mover, and his arm length is just ridiculous. Like, I think Herb Howard from the Bigs was like, I think this man can stand up and scratch his knee while he's just straight up standing up. And then I'm like, wait, is that difficult? And then I'm like, oh, well, I definitely can't do that. But his length is also going to help him even when he's not in a position, the best position to make a play, where he's just a God-given measurements. He can maybe tip a pass and they can go in Eddie Jackson's direction. But I think it's been something that probably all of us were expecting. Like Tyreek Stevenson was going to get that starting position. I think I said, like, I didn't think it would happen in OTAs or minicamp because you don't have pads on yet. But, hey, the coaches obviously like what they see and are hopefully going to see a lot more once the pads come on.
So he's as tall as Zava, is what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, essentially. Yep, that's exactly what it is.
There we go. I'm only on episode 3, by the way, or going on to 4. It's been a slow burn over here for me, but that's the first thing that kind of came to mind. All right. Moving in to the linebackers. Let's get into this front 7 here. Obviously, no Jack Sanborn yet out there on the field. So how's Noah looking right now in this spot? Obviously, when you and I were talking last, we talked about this group, and we're looking at the Sandbacker, and like, it could be obviously Jack Sanborn, but there is a rookie that they drafted that could battle, and he's the one out there in the field making the impression, getting the reps. How's it going?
Yeah, I think it's going good for Noah Sewell as a, later round pick, obviously day 3 guy. He's making the most out of his opportunities with Jack Sanborn out there, and almost nearly got a pick on Justin Fields on day 1 of minicamp. Didn't finish the play though, didn't catch the ball, but he's a guy that I think he doesn't look like he's out of place, right? And I think when the Bears do go in their base 4-3, he's out there. Again, I can't tell you exactly if he's in the exact right position, but he doesn't look out of place, which I think is also a really good indication of just what any rookie should be looking to accomplish in minicamp. And he's always talking with the guys in his position group, and even with Sanborn, who, that's the competition there. And I think Eberflus said, like, it's still Sanborn's job, but I think if you're Jack Sanborn, you want to get back out there. You want to still show, like, hey, look, I did all those things on the field last year. Still capable of that. So I know there's this new rookie here who, does have a lot of intangibles, but I'm still a very productive player. And once Jack Sanborn's ready to go, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do alongside his, new linebackers in Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards.
So when I was keeping tabs on practices throughout the week, a name that kept popping up off and on, which is exciting because he was a high pick for the Bears this year, was Javon Dexter. How's he progressing? How's he looking out there in the field? Based off of what I saw, it's just like he's very impressive, like athletically out there. And even though the pads aren't on, you're able to feel that.
Yeah, Tevin Jenkins gave us a good insight of the athleticism that Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens have, but they're not allowed to really use their bull rush moves in this period of the practices yet, just because they're not in pads. But it's all finesse, the handwork. Said he has really good hands and is able to make it difficult even when obviously they're not using the pads and not using one element of their rush attack game. But I just love, and Eberflus talked about it, the effort that he shows as a 6 foot here. I have the roster right here. A 6'6", 312-pound man going up and trying to rush the quarterback. Why he's the guy that's trying to chase down Justin Fields. And on this specific play that I watched, he was the only guy. And I don't know. And like the play was kind of over with, but Justin Fields kept on going. Javon Dexter's still running. And
Love
that is great to see that, in this Bears culture, hits principle is real. And I don't care if anyone thinks it's corny or not. The Bears live by that. You're seeing it being lived out through these rookies and obviously the veterans. But on that specific play, it's like that's hits right there because they're going to chart this down. Maybe everyone else is going to get knocked for it. But Javon Dexter, from going upfield trying to get Justin Fields initially to then work his way back, that stands out. And when it's a football game, an actual game, you're going to get that effort from him as well. So I'm excited to see him again with the pads and see him actually use that strength, because that's where I think things can get really dangerous. If you're Tevin Jenkins or if you're Nate Davis, like watch out. Javon Dexter's on the opposite side of you.
I love to hear that hustle that he's playing with, because you practice that way, you'll play that way. And that's a big reason why the Bears preach the hits principles as hard, as consistently that they do. They want it to be, I think, that foundational element of the player's DNA. And I very much bought in. I believe it's real, it's tangible, and it's something that can take a good team and make them be able to play with great teams, because it kind of closes that gap for the talent with some of that extra effort. So I love that story about Dexter. Can't wait to see that in camp and see what it's all about. So one thing that you kept talking about, so we're talking about the offense, and the perspective for the offense is like, they didn't have a good day, but we're talking about the defense now. So let's do the inverse. Like the defense is playing pretty well. So from your vantage point perspective, are they, playing a little faster, around the ball more? Reading your reports, I see a lot of tip passes, fumbles, interceptions. Do you feel like they're a little bit more just like around the football than what we saw this time last year?
I think it's that, and I think they're just making things more difficult for like the easy completions. Outside of the Equanimous St. Brown play that I was mentioning where nobody was near him, you're not getting a lot of that, where you're going to have to throw a touch pass over these linebackers, but it also can't be far enough because you have two safeties that are capable of making the play. And then you have Jalen Johnson, who's been playing good coverage throughout camp, or making it tight coverage to where if you're making a completion, it has to be damn near a perfect ball. So I just think this defense is without obviously a pass rush, of true pass rush in this setting, making it difficult for Justin Fields in the offense to complete easy things. There's no gimmies here. Like this defense seems pretty locked in despite having new pieces. Jalen Johnson came a few weeks late, and Eddie Jackson, returned a little bit later too, but you're seeing this defense, I think, just make it difficult. And, I really have liked also too, and I want to mention here, DeMarcus Walker, like the effort that he plays with. That was a guy I was really hesitant on the face. I was just hesitant about, because we saw the Al-Qadim Muhammad thing. He had a good 1 year, got signed, and didn't work out. And that gave me a flashback to that. I don't think that's the case, you guys. I really don't. How he presents himself, the effort that he puts in just individual drills. Like you could see that this guy cares and also is bought in to the hits principle that, the coaching staff really preaches into everybody. But yeah, I think they're just making it difficult, and they're playing crazy. They're playing as a unit, and it's only in minicamp right now. I can't wait to see, a couple months from now what this full entire defense can really look like.
I love it. One last question for the defense, just like we ended the offensive discussion. Is there a player that maybe hasn't generated buzz or people aren't writing or talking about today that once we get to training camp, you're going to be paying special attention to?
I don't know if and of course he's a big signing, but like a guy like TJ Edwards almost gets overshadowed because there's Tremaine Edmonds, right? So I'm really curious just to, again, watch more of TJ Edwards, see the impact plays he's going to make. But I also say the same thing for a guy like Kyler Gordon, who almost, Jaquan, I don't know if people are more high on Jaquan Brisker or Kyler Gordon, and Gordon was Poles' first pick as a Bears general manager, but I'm looking forward to seeing more of the battles there too. And if he gets locked up with a guy like DJ Moore, and he said, I know Gordon was saying, and when we spoke to him, like that hasn't happened very much. I want to see it, because if he can guard a guy like that, you're going to be in a pretty good position to make a lot of plays against some of the other wide receivers you'll face. But those are two of maybe like even the higher level names that I'm still looking forward to watching come training camp, because I'm looking forward to the plays they're going to make and, seeing how they compete with a more talented offense.
Absolutely. Love it. I think those are two good options, because when we talked about the secondary, even the chat was a lot about Tyreek Stevenson, a lot about Traquan Brisker. I saw some Jalen Johnson, but I didn't see a lot of people talking about Kyler. And he's moving into the slot. If he gets overlooked, as long as he plays well, that's okay. All right. One final break, and then we're going to wrap things up here today. So I want to let you know, if you haven't heard yet, that Pins and Aces is the official golf apparel partner of ALLCITY and CHGO. And we love our Pins and Aces gear, and we get tons of compliments on and off the course with it. They are a family-owned golf and apparel business. And honestly, Nick, I'll be upfront. Like, I need to look good on the course because I don't play super well, and I have to do one, or else it's going to be a really terrible afternoon for me. They make amazing polos. They have some awesome hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve. Now, this is a cool product. It's super innovative. It allows you to store 7 beers right inside of your golf bag and keep your drinks cold for the entire round. And again, with my level of play, I need 7 beers to feel like I'm actually having a good time out there on the course, because if not, I'm just going to be frustrated and upset. So this is a great invention, and I think every golfer should have that in their bag. So check out pinsandaces.com. Use our code CHGO, and that will allow you to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. And that's pinsandaces.com. Steve in the back end is showing you some of their polos right now. Look at that. You can get festive for the Independence Day week that's coming up here in just a couple of weeks. It's a really awesome store. Definitely go check them out if you haven't yet already. And again, code CHGO gets you 15% off your first order and free shipping. pinsandaces.com.
Definitely got to check out the Pins and Aces. I have a couple of polos from there, and super comfortable, look good while wearing them. And, they go a little extra, as you're kind of seeing on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube. So check out Pins and Aces, but you also got to check out, and if you're a fan of CHGO, FOCO, you can get fitted out in the best sports gear around. You need a hoodie, they got you. Shoes, of course they got that. Signs, bobbleheads, and literally everything in between. And of course, it's spring. We haven't officially gotten to summer, right? It's not officially summer, but we're in baseball season. And right now, it honestly feels like fall, like Will was saying earlier in the show. But you can still get your Aloha shirts, your straw hats, polos, bags, everything you need to look right, feel right at a game. And if you've watched our CHGO Bears show or any of the shows here at CHGO, our set decorations, FOCO has donated a few awesome pieces for our set to make it look professional and make it look cool. And, when we're on set, again, the vibes just feel right. We got to thank FOCO for doing that for us. And you got to go show them some love. And you could do that by going to foco.com or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off.
All right. Let's go ahead and get moving to our final segment here today. So, Nick, I just want you, with everything you've seen throughout, not just minicamp, but OTAs specifically and in general. Okay, specifically, that doesn't make any sense. Just OTAs and minicamp. What are those key areas on each side of the ball that you think they need to continue to work on once we get back to work in training camp? So for offense, what's that one thing that tops them all right now?
I think it's going to be big. I know look, it's crazy to say this, but I think I know what Justin Fields and DJ Moore are going to do. I really do. But we'll have to see based on health, like, what does this offense look like now with Darnell Mooney? And from what Eberflus been saying, like, he's on track for training camp. And Chase Claypool, hopefully with a soft tissue injury, is able to come back. But I think the main thing for that offense is seeing what does the full unit actually look like to, put the team in the best position to actually put points up, to actually move the ball downfield. And of course, I want to continue seeing the DJ Moore Fields chemistry grow, but I'm more concerned about some of the other guys and just seeing what I saw on day 3 of minicamp, where Fields is dishing the ball out to everybody else. I want to continue seeing that, because that's going to be the offense that's the most dangerous one. It's not just the one where DJ Moore's making all the plays. It's where, now Equanimous St. Brown's catching a ball. And now you're going to Darnell Mooney. So that makes it a dangerous offense. So I think in training camp, that's what I want to see. I already highlighted the running backs, what they're capable of, but those are going to be the main things. And then we get to finally see the offensive line, see how they stack up against a defensive line on paper. Maybe isn't the greatest, but we want to see how they hold up, especially Darnell Wright.
You shouldn't sound so, I guess, excited that EQ caught a ball, or I guess surprised. I guess was the word I was looking for there. You sounded so surprised, like, whoa, Equinemius made a catch. I'm kidding. Anyway, as we know, I'm thinking of one specific third down play that comes to mind from last season. But we'll move on here. Same thing for the defense, Nick. What's the one thing that you want to see them really work on based off of all your observations so far?
I think it's going to be really the pass rush, seeing how they generate it, who's in what position. We know now that a guy like Travis Gibson, who I hope I get this right, exclusively lined up on the right side last season because Robert Quinn was there, is now going to be playing both sides. So you're seeing a guy like that now, how he kind of fits into the scheme. But Gervon Dexter, curious about the rotation that you're going to see in the interior defensive line. You have Justin Jones being the starter there, but you're going to see Zach Pickens. You're going to see Gervon Dexter, Andrew Billings. You're going to see a lot of guys rotating in and out. So just seeing the defensive line and how they generate pressure is going to be huge. And a guy like Dominique Robinson still has a lot to prove being in his second year. So I think that's going to be the main focus. Can they get to Justin Fields, impact some of these plays, and how they're doing it? Where are guys lined up at? That's just going to be something that, as we're watching, finally with pads on, a little bit more realistic, that's going to be the area of the defense I'm really focusing in on.
Man, see, if I have like 3 more minutes, I wanted to go back 2 seasons ago for Travis Gibson. I want to see what his alignments were and where those sacks came from, because that would be interesting, because you're right. He was on that one side last season exclusively. And if you go back 2 years and you found out like a lot of his sacks were coming from the opposite direction, why did they stick with it so like rigidly last season? So those are questions that came to mind immediately. Maybe, just maybe, I'll have that figured out, because I'm going to dish you up with a simple question, complicated answer, which was like the last planned one of the show, just based off of what you thought you would see throughout OTAs and minicamp versus what you actually did see. Would you classify the Bears as behind, as expected, or ahead of schedule? Your schedule, not what, not everyone else's schedule, but what you were expecting.
Ooh, good question. I think I'm going to go ahead of schedule here, because I did not expect, with the addition of DJ Moore, for some of these explosive type of plays to be happening this quickly. And when Justin Fields was asked, about the chemistry and how quickly it was growing, it's not that he was surprised, but it did. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it caught him off guard, but it did happen pretty quickly, how quick this connection was. So it was really good to see that. I also said that I didn't think Tyreek Stevenson would basically win a starting job right now when there's no pads. He's done that. So we're seeing like these important factors in what's going to make the Bears successful in 2023 happening in minicamp, in OTAs. So I think it's been really nice to see. And I think with Justin Fields, yes, we, had a mixed bag of plays, but you're seeing him take the shots downfield. You see him throwing with conviction, utilizing new guys like Robert Tonyan in the offense. So I'm going to go slightly ahead of schedule here for where they're at. And, I think once we get to training camp, we'll see if they can continue that ascension as they're looking to make some moves here in 2023 here. Well, what about, obviously from an outside view looking in, what is that? Where are you at? Are they before or behind expected, or kind of ahead?
It feels like, for me, as expected, maybe slightly ahead, just with hearing how some of these rookies are already performing, like Stevenson. I think Dexter, with the hustle you mentioned, is a good one. And the Justin Fields, DJ Moore connection, as much as we would hope it would have been an instantaneous connection, you didn't know if it was going to be one. We didn't know it was going to be right out of the gate, like, oh, wow, like they're figuring this thing out. And I think it's a testament of both gentlemen, like, working together, getting to know one another. And I know Justin talked about DJ's body language, like already kind of picking up on that, which I think is tremendous. So for like those small subtleties, maybe slightly ahead, but most likely as expected. But it's just hard from, I think, an outside perspective to gain all of the knowledge to make a educated kind of take here. But I appreciate you asking me from like an outsider view, because I think that's fun. By the way, I have the numbers. So you said last year he lined up exclusively on the right side. Is what
Was
you
it
said,
right or
right?
was it left? Yeah, it was one of the sides.
It was one. Yes, Nick.
Yes, it was one.
It
of the
was
sides.
one of. It was the. It was so all the sacks came from the left, which again PFF could say left and then versus the right, but he had 3 last year, which all of his. Let's go ahead. He only had 285 pass rushes on the left compared to 26 on the right. So that's what it was. And if you go the year prior, 9 of his sacks were on the same side he lined up last year. So him moving side to side, maybe won't have as big of an impact as you would think, but not being pigeonholed is good for anybody to allow them to feel like, some creative expression or I don't know, just not doing the same exact thing from the same exact side and having the same matchup. Give yourself a different matchup and that, change tendencies. I think that's going to be good for him too, but wasn't anything drastic, I guess, which I was hoping to find, but sometimes you hope and ends up, coming out a little empty-handed here. But Nick, this has been a great show. I appreciate you kind of, helping out a lot because you were the one there kind of sharing all these observations. Hopefully I was able to steer this conversation in a way that people enjoyed. It seems like people really had a good time in the chat throughout this episode, but I just wanted to thank you for sharing all your insights and all the hard work you've been putting on throughout all of OTAs and minicamp. It's been great reading your reports at allchgo.com. Definitely check them out if you haven't yet. Nick does a great job detailing what's going on in 7-on-7s, the team portions of practice, some good quotes. It's really good stuff. So definitely go check out Nick's work at allchgo.com.
Well, I appreciate that, Will. You queued me up with the right questions, able to kind of get the answers out there. And again, hopefully everyone enjoyed this podcast. It was good being on with Will. It's been a little bit, so appreciate everyone who's tuning in each and every week. Look, minicamp may be over, but the CHGO Bears podcast is still going to be here even through the dark period of the NFL. This is actually it. This is where nothing's happening, if anything. Maybe we see a contract extension or a signing or two, but really not much is happening, but you can still catch us at noon, Monday through Friday, to watch the CHGO Bears show. So make sure you're doing that. Have those notifications on. Who knows what will happen, but we'll be here. So don't you worry about that.
We need to find a way to do a countdown to camp. Now, we can't do it one a week because that's not going to help us, but maybe we do some roundtables for our diehards over on allchgo.com because I love me a good countdown to camp. Preview by position previews, get into those nitty gritty details heading into the training camp. So that way, once you're able to either watch the content or go to Lake Forest yourself and watch these practices, you know who's out there, you know what to look for. It's a really great time and a good reason to sign up to become a diehard on allchgo.com. You get 20% merch all the time. We just ran a Father's Day sale, and you better believe our diehards got 20% off on top of that sale because we love our diehards. And so if you're a diehard of the Bears, like I am, I know Nick is too, like pledge yourself as a diehard at CHGO. Unlike all those great benefits, I've only listed a few, but if you go to allchgo.com/diehard, comprehensive list of just all the amazing benefits that you'll have immediately upon signing up of being a diehard. So go check that out. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. But until then, bear down, Chicago.